If you're someone with a South Asian body type, i.e. you have suboptimal genetics, which means you don't put on muscle mass easily, you probably store a lot of body fat, and it's pretty hard to lose your body fat, especially around the belly region, your training is going to need some optimization. I'm going to talk about the training principles required in order to build an athletic physique, i.e. drop body fat and build muscle. Regardless of the phase that you're in, whether you're trying to purely build muscle or drop body fat, your training should not change. This video is going to explain exactly how you should be training regardless of the phase that you're on. There are three main underlying principles when it comes to training to build an athletic physique. The first one being your training split. You have to start with a program that works for you. Most people get this wrong from the outset. Either they just don't have a training program, or they have a training program that's way too complicated or has way too many days in them. Everything starts off your training split. Now, most people that I come across struggle with time management, with the demands of responsibilities of work, stress, family. So it's important to pick a split that actually works for you long term. If you can't sustain 4 or 5 days in the gym for at least 6 months, then that's not the right training split for you. The second thing I'm going to talk about is training intensity. If you rock up to the gym, you need to put the work in. You can't just show up to the gym and say it's good enough just showing up and train how you feel like. We're going to cover intensity, how to actually know whether you're pushing yourself to the right level of intensity. And the third thing we're going to cover is progressive overload. If you're lifting the same weights you were lifting 3 to 6 months ago, your body is not going to change. You need to give your body a reason to adapt and change. To have physical adaptations, your body must have a reason to change. All right, so let's start with training split. Let's be real. Ask yourself right now if you, over the past 6 months, have been able to go to the gym for at least 3 times per week consistently. If the answer is no, then you need to strip this back and understand that a minimal basic program is what is going to suit you better. Most of the people I work with, including myself, are on a 3-day full body program. The reason why this is the most effective program for someone with suboptimal genetics and also someone that struggles with time is that it's a very forgiving program. Training 3 times a week full body allows you to hit each major muscle group multiple times per week. If you miss one session for whatever reason, you've actually covered those muscle groups within that week. A 3-day full body program is also great for recovery because you're training multiple muscle groups within that training session and not focusing so hard on specific muscle groups, you're able to recover quicker and train them again. You can pinch this exact 3-day full body program from here and take it and adapt it for yourself. Most people think they need to train more than 3 times a week and they program themselves a 4, 5 or even 6-day split. The problem being is that if you miss a session over that 4 or 5-day split, you are likely to miss full muscle groups across that week, and therefore you're going to waste your time and make slower progress. Now, the second thing that we want to cover is intensity. If you're rocking up to the gym to do a program, you need to make it count. You need to work for it. There's no point showing up to the gym and just doing things with half-assed, mediocre intensity and not putting any effort in. Here's how to gauge whether you're putting your muscles through the right level of intensity. As an in-person PT, I've trained multiple beginners and I've done thousands of hours of in-person PT. So I've helped many people understand how to gauge the level of intensity they need to make the progress that they want. I'm going to demonstrate intensity with the lat pull down, which is a very, very staple exercise across probably everybody's program. Everyone's going to have a variation of lat pull down in their program. Understanding intensity can be applied to any exercise. So I'm just using this one as an example, but you can apply these principles to any exercise. Firstly, when you select the weight that you want to do, the most important thing, especially if you're a beginner or if it's a new exercise, you want to gauge where you're at with a 12 rep range. When performing the exercise, you want to see how hard it is for you to get to that 12 rep range mark. If I get to rep 12 and it's feeling like this, and it's not feeling particularly hard, then I know that weight is too light for me. The real way to gauge intensity is that your last 2 to 3 reps have got to feel tough for you. So if you're using a weight and it feels too light for you, you need to go up in weight. If those last few reps feel really easy, then you want to go up in weight. You want to perform your working sets with the last few reps of that working set being challenging, right? You want to challenge yourself. If those last reps look easy, look smooth, don't feel any pain, you're not going to build any muscle in that way. your last rep has to feel tough, right? You need to go either one shy of failure or all the way to failure in order for your muscles to grow. Your first working set can be 2 reps shy of failure. Your second working set could be 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. And your last working set should be just to failure. That's how we manage the intensity of our lifts. Same principle can be applied to every lift that you do. So you got your training split and you got intensity, right? So you know how to pick and select the weights and how to push yourself on those weights, right? The last final piece of that puzzle is progressive overload. Progressive overload is essentially making sure that you're progressing with your lifts either through your reps or through an increased rate. Now you should all be tracking all of your lifts without fail. You can use an app, you can use a free app, you can use Google Sheets, you can use a pen and paper. It doesn't really matter, you could use your notes app. You should be tracking all of your lifts. So if I'm doing lat pull downs, I have logged what I'm doing every single week. Set 1, set 2, set 3, what weight I'm doing and how many reps I'm doing. The week after, when I go back to that workout program, I'm gonna have a look at exactly what I lifted last time and I'm gonna try and beat it in some way. I'm either gonna try and beat it by going for more reps or I'm gonna try and beat it by going for more weight. Whenever you have a program, you should have a rep range. For instance, if you have a rep range of 8 to 12 and you can do 3 sets of a weight for 12, you can go up in weight on that last working set and go down to 8 reps. You may not be able to get 12 reps and you're most likely not gonna get 12 reps on the weight above. However, you can go down to 8 reps or 10 reps. That's how you progressive overload. You're doing a little bit more weight the week after for less reps. That's progressive overload. The week after, you try to do that same weight, but for more reps. So all we're trying to do is get a little bit more each time. If you're not tracking your workouts, you've already lost. If you're not tracking your workouts at all, you've got no chance of doing this properly. You need to be very, very black and white with your numbers. Track your workouts, track your lifts, write down exactly the weights and the reps that you're lifting, and you want to try to beat what you did last time. So to summarize, to get an above average physique, even with suboptimal genetics, you need to start with your training split, which I would recommend to be a 3-day program. If you want to do a 4th day, i.e. you're being very consistent with 3 days and you feel you have the capacity for a 4th, I would switch the 4th day to an accessory day, i.e. work on some of the smaller muscle groups that you're struggling with. Maybe your calves, which is a typical one, your biceps, maybe your delts, right? Some core work and maybe some cardio. So you're adding a 4th extra day in as a nice to have. Some weeks you might do 3 workouts, some weeks you might do the 4th accessory day. The second thing is intensity. Make sure you're not training like a softie, you're actually training hard, you're pushing yourself. Your last 2 reps should be filled fucking tough, and make sure you're pushing that final set to failure across all of your lifts. And the last but not least, make sure you're tracking all of your workouts, make sure that you're achieving progressive overload, but trying to beat the last log that you had. Try to beat it with either through your reps or through the weights that you're lifting. And that way, if you continue to do that over and over and over again, your muscles are gonna adapt, you're gonna get physical adaptations, you're gonna grow some lean muscle tissue, and you're actually gonna get the body that you're looking for.